Gervonta "Tank" Davis is one of boxing's brightest stars. Undefeated, knockout power, and paydays worth tens of millions. But here's the controversy. Despite his fortune, whispers claim Tank is losing millions to legal battles, reckless spending, and risky moves. Is he building a lasting empire or burning through it faster than he earns it? In this video, we follow the money and unravel the shocking truth. Before the Lamborghinis, diamond chains, and multi-million-dollar paydays, Gervonta "Tank" Davis was just another kid in Baltimore, Maryland, fighting to survive. Raised in one of the city's toughest neighborhoods, Tank grew up surrounded by crime, poverty, and instability. His childhood wasn't about luxury, it was about survival. More than once, he's spoken about how boxing became his only escape, his way out of a system that swallows kids whole. He started training at the Upton Boxing Center, where Coach Calvin Ford, the man who would later become his lifelong mentor, spotted his talent. Tank's amateur career was decorated with national titles, but amateur medals don't pay bills. When he turned professional in 2013, at just 18 years old, his fight purses were tiny. A few $1,000s here, maybe a little more there. Nothing close to what would later come. But those early fights laid the foundation. He was explosive, a knockout artist, a southpaw with devastating power. Promoters noticed, and so did Floyd Mayweather. Soon, Tank had a guiding hand that would shape both his career and his fortune. The leap from poverty to paydays worth tens of millions is staggering. Imagine being a teenager who once worried about food and rent, now headlining pay-per-view events in Las Vegas, wiring more in one night than most families will see in a lifetime. That transformation is the essence of Tank's story. But it also sets the stage for the controversy. Because when money arrives this fast, especially for someone who came from nothing, the temptation to spend it just as fast can be overwhelming. And for Tank, the whispers of reckless choices and legal costs started almost as soon as the millions began rolling in. Because the question isn't whether Tank can make millions, it's whether he can keep them. Gervonta Davis's rise accelerated the moment Floyd Mayweather took him under his wing. Signed to Mayweather Promotions, Tank didn't just gain exposure, he gained access to Floyd's playbook for building an empire. Floyd had become boxing's first billionaire by controlling his own fights, his image, and his money. And Tank, as Floyd's protege, had the chance to follow in those footsteps. Mayweather made sure Tank's early career was seen on massive stages. Instead of fighting in small venues, Tank appeared on the undercards of major pay-per-view events, sometimes even alongside Floyd himself. This kind of exposure wasn't just about fame, it was about money. Tank's purses jumped from thousands to hundreds of thousands, and soon to millions. By 2017, Tank had won his first world title, stopping Jose Pedraza. That victory didn't just earn him a belt, it marked his arrival as a star. The checks got bigger, the spotlight brighter. Mayweather touted him as the next face of boxing, someone who could carry the torch long after he was gone. But here's where the paths begin to diverge. Floyd Mayweather was notorious for his financial discipline, even behind the flash. He invested in businesses, owned his promotions, and turned paydays into long-term wealth. Tank, however, seemed to embrace more of the lifestyle than the discipline. As the purses grew, so did his appetite for luxury cars, fashion, and jewelry. Fans loved it, critics worried about it. And here's the hook. While Floyd's mentorship gave Tank access to unimaginable riches, it also brought expectation. Could Tank live up to the money blueprint, or would his fortune follow a very different trajectory? Because being Floyd's protege gave Tank the tools to build generational wealth, but it also gave him the temptation to spend like a king before he became one. By the late 2000s, Gervonta Davis wasn't just a prospect, he was a pay-per-view star. His knockout power and brash personality made him one of the most marketable fighters in boxing. Fights against Leo Santa Cruz, Mario Barrios, and Rolando Romero weren't just wins, they were spectacles that brought in millions. Tank's paydays skyrocketed into the $5 to $10 million range, with pay-per-view splits adding even more to his bank account. But the real turning point came in 2023, when Tank faced Ryan Garcia in one of the most anticipated fights of the decade. The event pulled in massive numbers, and Tank's reported take was somewhere between $10 and $15 million, the single biggest payday of his career. For a fighter who once fought for scraps in Baltimore, it was proof that he had arrived. From that point, Tank was no longer just a champion, he was a brand. His name carried enough weight to headline Las Vegas cards and command 8-figure purses. Endorsements, merchandise, and sponsorships added extra income streams, though not at the same scale as his fights. Still, the trajectory was clear. Tank had the potential to join boxing's financial elite. But this is where the curiosity grows, because as fast as Tank's money was stacking, his lifestyle was growing even louder. Cars, watches, designer clothes, all flaunted across social media. And then came the legal trouble. Arrests, lawsuits, and court battles that raised an uncomfortable question. With tens of millions in earnings, is Tank securing his fortune like Floyd taught him? Or is he spending and losing losing just as fast as he earns? When you scroll through Gervonta Davis's social media, one thing is clear. Tank lives large. The Baltimore kid who once struggled for every dollar now flaunts the kind of luxury most people only dream of. Cars, clothes, jewelry, homes. His lifestyle is the physical proof of his payday. Let's start with the car. Tank's garage rivals some of the wealthiest athletes in the world. He's been spotted with Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Rolls-Royces, and high-end Mercedes-Benz SUVs, many of them customized, many of them costing hundreds of thousands apiece. To Tank, cars aren't just transportation, they're trophy, rolling symbols of his success. Then there's the fashion and jewelry. Designer brands like Gucci, Louis Vuitton, and Balenciaga dominate his wardrobe. His jewelry collection, featuring diamond-encrusted watches and chains, easily runs into the millions. One standout piece? A chain so heavy and detailed it looks more like art than an accessory. These purchases are as much about status as they are about style. Tank has also invested in real estate for himself. While the details are often private, he's been tied to properties in Miami and Atlanta, cities known for both luxury living and tax benefits. Mansions with sprawling interiors, flashy decor, and space for the lifestyle he's built. But here's the catch. While Floyd Mayweather famously flaunted wealth as part of his brand, Floyd also invested strategically behind the scenes. Tank? The concern is that what fans see online might not be balanced with hidden stability. Because luxury is expensive, and unlike businesses, cars and watches don't always hold value. So the question lingers, is Tank buying assets or just burning cash? The answer may lie in the battles he's been fighting outside the ring. If luxury is Tank's chosen lifestyle, then legal trouble has become his shadow, and shadows cost money, lots of it. While fans see the headlines about knockouts, behind the scenes, Tank's lawyers may be some of the most expensive people on his payroll. In 2020, Davis was arrested for charges related to a domestic dispute. In 2021, he faced a hit-and-run case in Baltimore, where he was accused of fleeing an accident that injured multiple people. That case dragged on for years before Tank accepted a plea deal that included house arrest and community service. In between, there were fines, probation hearings, and court-ordered obligations. These legal battles don't just cost time, they cost millions. High-profile attorneys, settlement, fines, and the ripple effects on sponsorships all drain wealth. For every $5 to $10 million fight purse Tank earns, a sizable chunk may be quietly slipping away into legal defense. And that's not even considering the damage to his brand. Endorsements shy away from controversy, which means Tank isn't cashing in on sponsors the way someone like Canelo or Anthony Joshua might. Fans and critics alike have begun asking the uncomfortable question, are Tank's biggest expenses not cars or mansions, but lawyers? Some even speculate that his legal troubles could cut his career earnings by tens of millions if they continue. This is where the controversy teased in the intro starts to take shape. Because if Tank's fortune is being drained not just by luxury, but by legal issues, the wealth story changes dramatically. And if that's true, then even his investments, however small they may be, might not be enough to protect his empire. Unlike Floyd Mayweather, who built Mayweather Promotions into a powerhouse, Tank's business portfolio remains much smaller, but it's there. The most visible is his merchandise and apparel brand, which sells clothing and fight-related gear. For a fighter with Tank's fan base, even merchandise can generate millions over time. There have also been rumors of real estate plays. Reports tie Tank to properties in Atlanta and Miami, possibly not just for personal living, but also as investments. Real estate is a smart move for an athlete. Houses appreciate in value, generate rental income, and provide stability against the volatile nature of sports earning. If Tank is serious about investing here, it could be the foundation of long-term wealth. But compared to someone like Canelo or Floyd, Tank's empire is still in its infancy. He doesn't have a tequila line, a massive promotions company, or dozens of businesses under his belt. For now, most of his wealth comes directly from fight purses, meaning his fortune rises and falls with each bout. That dependence on active fighting is risky. One injury, one loss of marketability, and the money flow could shrink dramatically. And this is where the controversy deepens, because whispers suggest Tank has also put money into risky ventures, areas like crypto, high-end car flipping, or unverified business partners. If true, that could mean millions gambled on unstable assets instead of secured in long-term investments. So while Tank has dipped his toes into the business world, the real question is whether those moves are enough to balance the spending, the legal fees, and the flashy lifestyle. Because what comes next could reveal the biggest threat to his wealth. No story about Gervonta Davis's fortune can be told without mentioning Floyd Mayweather. Floyd isn't just a promoter. He's Tank's mentor, his biggest critic, and the man who shaped his career path. When Tank signed with Mayweather Promotions, he gained access to the Mayweather blueprint, the model that turned Floyd into boxing's first first billionaire athlete. Floyd taught Tank how to headline, how to market fights, and how to demand pay-per-view percentages. He even positioned Tank on major undercards to give him global exposure. Financially, it worked. Tank went from $100,000 purses to $10 million purses in just a few years. Floyd called him the future of boxing, and in many ways, Tank delivered. But here's the twist. While Floyd embraced discipline behind the scenes, diversifying into businesses, real estate, and promotions, Tank often seems to embrace the lifestyle more than the structure. Where Floyd turned wealth into empire, Tank often turns wealth into luxury. Lamborghini, designer shopping sprees, spontaneous giveaway. These are the things fans see most. Floyd has even publicly warned Tank about discipline, hinting that his protege could risk everything if he doesn't learn to manage wealth the right way. The shadow of Floyd looms large. Will Tank become the next boxing mogul, following his mentor's footsteps into billionaire territory? Or will he become another cautionary tale of talent paired with reckless financial choices? That question hangs heavier as we move toward the controversy that has defined much of Tank's career outside the ring. Because Floyd's wealth was built on stability, Tank's, the foundation might not be as secure. Here's where the whispers turn into hard reality. For years, fans and analysts have speculated that Gervonta Davis may be bleeding money through legal battles, reckless spending, and risky financial choices. And the evidence is difficult to ignore. Tank's legal issues, from domestic cases to his Baltimore hit and run, have dragged on for years, costing him not just in reputation, but in cash. Legal teams don't work for free. High-profile attorneys and settlements can drain millions. Some insiders suggest that Tank's biggest expense isn't mansions or cars, it's lawyers. Then there are the reports of risky investments. While Floyd put his money into gas stations, real estate, and promotions, Tank has been rumored to sink money into unstable ventures like cryptocurrency schemes, high-end car flips, and unverified business deals. None of these are guaranteed to grow, and all of them carry the risk of shrinking his fortune. Layered on top is the lifestyle itself. Cars depreciate, jewelry loses resale value, and mansions come with enormous upkeep costs. The flashy image may boost his brand, but it also fuels speculation that Tank is spending faster than he's securing. That's why net worth estimates for him, despite $10 to $15 million paydays, hover around $10 to $15 million total, far below where you'd expect a fighter of his drawing power to be. This is the heart of the controversy, teased in the intro. Is Tank a multimillionaire superstar on the rise, or a fighter one misstep away from serious financial trouble? The truth may be somewhere in between. Yes, he's rich. Yes, he has assets. But compared to Floyd's empire, Tank's fortune looks fragile. And the scariest part? At just 30 years old, his wealth story is still being written, for better or for worse. So where does Gervonta Davis stand today? By most estimates, his net worth sits between $10 and $15 million. He's still young, still undefeated, and still capable of headlining fights that bring in tens of millions. If he keeps winning, there's no reason Tank couldn't cross the $100 million career earnings mark in the next 5 years. The potential is there for him to build generational wealth, but potential doesn't guarantee stability. Tank's financial future depends on one thing: whether he follows the Mayweather blueprint or continues down his own unpredictable path. If he invests in businesses, real estate, and smart ventures, he could secure his fortune forever. If he keeps spending on cars, jewelry, and fighting legal battles, the story could end very differently. The legacy of Tank's wealth isn't written in numbers alone. It's written in lesson. From the streets of Baltimore to the bright lights of Las Vegas, Tank has already beaten the odds. But now he faces the toughest opponent of all: wealth management. Because talent can earn millions, but discipline builds empires. As of now, Tank is rich. He's living his dream, riding in Lamborghinis and headlining sold-out arenas. But the big question remains: will Gervonta Davis become the next boxing mogul, or another fighter remembered for what he earned and then lost? Because in the fight for fortune, knockouts don't matter. Discipline does.